Hello and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm sharing a very special story, The Man Who Wanted to Change the Wind, a tale that invites us to reflect on acceptance, patience, and the wisdom of learning to live with what we cannot change. Get comfortable, relax, and join me on this journey. The Man Who Wanted to Change the Wind. Once upon a time, in a dusty corner of the world forgotten by most maps, there was a small village named Windvale. The name wasn't just poetic. In Windvale, the wind blew day and night, never pausing, never whispering. It howled through the cracks of old wooden homes, slammed doors shut, sent clouds of dust spiraling through the town square, and made laundry on clotheslines dance wildly like spirits in flight. In this restless village lived a man named Elias, a solitary figure in his 50s, with a beard as white as sea foam and eyes that always seemed to be searching for something beyond the horizon. He had once been a carpenter, then a mechanic, and finally, a self-declared inventor of things that made sense only to him. His house, perched at the edge of town, was a chaotic museum of gears, levers, pulleys, rusted fan blades, and yellowed blueprints pinned to every surface. Elias had one burning desire: to change the wind. Ever since he was a child, Elias had felt like the wind was taking something from him. Not just the dust in his food or the nightly rattling of the roof tiles, the wind had taken real things. His mother, whose lungs had failed after years of breathing the dry, dusty air. His first love, who had walked away one evening saying, "I can't live in a place where the wind never lets me rest." Even the pages of his favorite books, fluttering and flying away before he could finish the last lines. To Elias, the wind wasn't just weather, it was an enemy. And over the years, that enemy turned into an obsession. If I could just make the wind stop, or change direction, even once, everything would be different, he told himself. The village would be better. I would be better. And so one day, he picked up a blank notebook and began to sketch. Thus began his greatest project, the wind machine. At first, it was just an idea. Then came rough blueprints. Then, a small model made of wood and scrap metal. Soon, he was collecting parts from all over the village. Old fans, broken windmills, pieces of metal fencing, pipes from abandoned heaters. Some villagers watched with curiosity. Others laughed or whispered that Elias had finally gone mad. But Elias didn't hear them. Day by day, he hammered, bolted, measured, and built. For months, he worked tirelessly as the wind roared around him, mocking his efforts. The machine grew larger and larger, a towering mechanical beast over 15 feet tall, with wings like an aluminum dragon, a giant spinning propeller at the top, and a web of pipes and gears running like veins through its body. He built it atop the tallest hill overlooking Windvale, where the wind blew the fiercest. "If I'm going to tame it," Elias said, "I must face it where it's strongest." Finally, the day of the great test arrived. The villagers came to watch, more for entertainment than belief. Children clung to their mothers' skirts. Elders shook their heads. Elias, covered in grease and sweat, his eyes bright with hope, climbed the ladder to the control panel. He counted to 3 and pulled the lever. The machine roared to life. Gears spun, steam hissed, the great wings flapped, and for a moment it seemed like the very air held its breath. But the wind kept blowing just as it always had. Not only did it not stop, it seemed to push harder, almost mocking the contraption with its unstoppable force. Elias adjusted valves, pulled different levers, restarted the engine. Nothing worked. And then disaster struck. A powerful gust slammed into the hill. The machine, tall but poorly balanced, began to shake. Screws flew off. One wing snapped and twisted in the air. The great propeller spun out of control until it broke free and flew across the field like a deadly boomerang. In mere seconds, the mighty wind machine collapsed in a clanging, screeching storm of twisted metal. The villagers gasped. Then silence. Only the wind continued, whispering and howling as it always had. Elias, sitting among the ruins of his invention, could do nothing but stare. He had poured years of dreaming and months of labor into this single moment, and it had failed. Then, something unexpected happened. A gentle breeze, soft and warm, brushed against his cheek. It wasn't the harsh, dry gust he was used to. It felt more like a sigh, a whisper, and in that quiet breath of air, Elias thought he heard something. Sometimes, the best thing we can do is learn to live with what we cannot change. He closed his eyes. That single sentence landed deeper than any storm ever had. He saw it all so clearly now. The time he had lost, the people he had pushed away, the joy he'd missed by fighting something that was never his to control. He had waged war against the wind, when all along, he might have danced with it. The next day, Elias did not climb the hill. Instead, he began building something different. Windmills. Not to stop the wind, but to use it, to understand it, to turn its endless movement into energy and beauty. He showed the village children how to make tiny wind catchers and paper pinwheels. He helped plant rows of tall trees to break the dust before it reached the homes. And above the door of his workshop, he hung a simple wooden sign. You cannot control the wind, but you can listen to it. You can dance with it. Years passed, and Windvale changed. Not because the wind stopped, it never did, but because the people changed how they lived with it. And Elias, the man who once wanted to change the wind, became known as the village's quiet, wise man, the one who had learned that sometimes the greatest invention is a peaceful heart. Moral of the story: there are forces in life we cannot control. Wisdom lies not in fighting them endlessly, but in learning to live with them and even grow because of them. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a little inspiration today. Remember, we can't always change the wind, but we can learn to fly with it. See you next time.